Good morning everyone, welcome back to your beloved drawback chess speedrun. Today we are continuing our speedrun within the 4000 and 5000 rating points section, and without any further ado, let's get into today's content. First game is played at 4630, leaps and bounds, you can't move a piece adjacent to where it was. Absolutely horrifying, reveal drawback to opponent. E4. My pawns can only move 2 squares, therefore it pretty much can only move once and cannot do anything else. E5. And since the pawns are pretty much absolutely useless here, why not just use them for tempos? D6. I've just realized that bishop b4 was actually a checkmate because I could only block with the knight, and then he can just capture the knight for another check, which I not only cannot recapture but also cannot block and cannot bonk loud. That was crazy, but we survived that. H4. Preventing his queen from coming closer, melee combat has to be completely avoided at all costs. F5. My pawns cannot capture, no need to care about them. Bishop g5. Bishop e7. I don't want to retreat, the only choice is capture. Knight takes. Bishop c4. b5. Retreat is kinda forced. It seems like this guy has already known how to take advantage of my drawback. F takes c4. That is really bad, if he pushes the pawn further I don't think I can actually stop it. Knight c3. c5. Okay, but I still cannot take his e-pawn because bishop b7 skewering my knight and my g-pawn, and there is actually no way for me to defend both. I'll capture the other pawn instead. The uselessness of the pawns is really costing us a lot of center controls here. Bishop a6. Knight back. It's alright, if bishop takes bishop I can still recapture with my knight. I didn't even know there was such a move. Okay, that is a very good move, even though I don't think my queen is getting trapped here. I seriously need to be quick on a counterattack before completely losing. Knight h3. Bishop takes c2. My queen is trapped. Bishop h5 check. g6. Queen g4. Okay, the pontiff is trapped, but at least the woman is saved. G takes h5. And it is also absolutely terrible that I cannot take that pawn for another check. Queen e6 instead. It is not very clear what I should be doing here, but at least this will scare him a little bit. C takes d4. These 4 center pawns are going to absolutely destroy me. Knight d5. A capture would be very convenient. d3. Aha! Finally, a chance for a counter-attack. Knight f3 check. And he voluntarily moved his king up at my queen's face. Knight g5 check. My knights are not restricted by the drawback, they are the only ones that are actually reliable here. King g6. If he takes that knight my pawn wouldn't be able to recapture. Knight e4 discovered check. King f5. Okay, I ran out of check. Now there is a threat of pawn to d2, an actual checkmate in one because my king cannot move. Castle. King f4. This guy is seriously wanting to checkmate my king with his own king. Queen h3. Leaving the e6 square empty for a royal fork, it came to me that this guy hasn't even once moved his queen. So I guess maybe, just maybe, his drawback prevents him from moving his queen, and if his queen dies, he loses the game. Knight f5. Aha! That blunders a royal fork, but this is also a massive risk for me, because as my knights aren't affected by the drawback, a check here is allowing his king to capture one knight, which is really bad if his drawback isn't what I expected. So I guess Rook e1. I'll defend this knight with the rook so the other knight can give the check. d2. Knight e6 royal fork. King g4. And before I take that queen, if his queen really cannot move, knight f6 check. King takes h3. I win. Knight takes d8. Nothing happened. King takes g2 check. Well, at least we got a good thumbnail material. Resignation. Your opponent's drawback was untitled duck drawback. There is a duck sleeping on d5, you can't pass through it or land on it. Okay, I understand why he didn't counter reveal. But it doesn't matter anyway because my king cannot move, so he cannot go all the way up there. First game is a dead loss. We'll take revenge on the next game. Helicopter parent, you lose if you have an undefended pawn. Aha. Still pretty annoying, but very much way more manageable. Reveal drawback to opponent. Of course I shouldn't push the pawns too far. d3. My opponent counter revealed. Paranoid. Your king must always be defended. You must be able to recapture if it were captured. Or you lose. Man, I really should have pushed the e-pawn. e5. Okay, there is no reason to push the e-pawn anymore as my light bishop is already blocked. b3. Setting free for my dark square bishop to go out. Knight f6. Bishop g5. If he can move the knight away so I can take his queen and immediately win the game, that would be very convenient. Didn't happen. I'll also set the other bishop free. Bishop b4 check. c3. Bishop back. e4. Pretty risky though, but it has to happen sooner or later so my queen can go out. b6. Take queen h5. Bishop b7. That blunders a king. Queen takes f7. Checkmate. Well, technically it's not a checkmate, but now he is forced to capture my queen due to the global chess rules, which makes his king completely undefended and immediately loses to his own drawback. King takes f7. Now what? Where's my win? Aha! There we go. One win and one loss. It all comes down to this. Colorblind, can't move to squares of one color. Re-randomized every move. Reveal drawback to opponent. Ha! Even I don't know what color the random is gonna be. This reveal is pretty much unusable. d4. e6. e4. And I've just realized bishop b4 now can potentially force a bomb cloud if my random betrays me. Didn't happen. Okay, but I rolled a light square. There is nothing I can do about this. Knight h3. Knight f6. Finally. I mean, I blundered a pawn, but it's definitely still better than bomb clouding the king. He doesn't take. But I also cannot push. f3 instead. Now he takes. Bishop g5. Bishops are very risky though, as they can only land on one color at a time. I may not be able to move this bishop again if it gets attacked. h6. And it happened exactly as I said. Nothing I can do about it. Okay, you know what? Change of plan. I'm gonna play more aggressively from here to quickly end the game before the bad randoms slowly accumulate damage to my position. And he doesn't take the bishop. Absolutely convenient. Okay, that move not only saved my bishop, it actually also gave out a lot more critical information about his drawback. You see, First, this guy didn't take my free pawn on move 4, he chose to attack my bishop instead of capturing another pawn on f3, but then ended up not taking the bishop when I left it hanging. These 3 times make me guess. His drawback is that he cannot move a piece twice. Queen takes f6. I don't have a way to test the theory yet though. Heck, I can't even go king f2 to test if he can take my king or not. Bishop c4 instead. He takes d4. e5. Queen takes e5. Aha! This is a good chance to test the theory. Castle. Not only threatening to capture the f-pawn, my rook can also go to e1 and pin his queen to his king. He basically has to move his queen here to defend himself from both of these threats. And he didn't move it. I win. Bishop takes f7 check. I mean, I still cannot win this game real fast or anything, but with his king completely exposed in the center and can only move once in a row, the only way I can lose this game is that I lose my 50-50 10 times in a row. Heck, even Genshin Impact doesn't allow you to lose that hard with your gotcha pulls. King takes f7. Aha! This guy decided to leave his fate to the random. And sadly, it favors me. 2 wins and 1 loss. Drawback chess speedrun today. 100% win rate.